Hello everyone. Welcome back to What's Cooking CGH. I'm Sherry from the CGH Health Foundation. And I have a recipe for you today using pantry ingredients. This is a quick black bean soup and it takes just a few minutes to put together, and you probably have everything you need at home, so it's something you can do right away. I'm going to start off right away to get my onions and garlic cooking. I've got a pan over medium-high heat, and instead of using oil, I'm going to use a little bit of my vegetable broth to soften my onions and garlic. That just reduces the amount of fat and calories in the recipe. And I have a half a cup of chopped onion, not chopped, I've really minced it. I want it to be small pieces so that it'll cook a little quicker, and we won't have big chunks of onion in this soup. So that's a small onion, or about a half a cup diced. And then the next ingredient is 2 cloves of garlic, which I have minced. I've pressed it through my garlic press actually, and I'm going to add that right in there with the onion. Okay, so just that little bit of vegetable broth and the onion and the garlic, and that's going to take maybe 3 minutes to soften in the pan. And while we're waiting for that to happen, I'm going to talk about beans in general and black beans and why this is such a good soup to have in your repertoire for cooking. So first of all, beans are high in fiber, they're high in protein, very low fat, and the little bit of fat they have is that healthier unsaturated type. They're also full of vitamins and minerals, a good source of iron, a good source of calcium. They also help to improve your blood sugar control, so that combination of the fiber and the protein in the beans helps to slow down digestion, meaning that your blood sugar doesn't spike. And also eating beans has been shown to reduce total cholesterol and our bad cholesterol numbers, so that's another good thing. One study even showed that adding a single serving of beans every day helped to reduce the occurrence or the incidence of heart disease by almost 40%. So you definitely want to be including beans in your diet. Lots of great nutrition there. The other thing I like about them is that, a can of beans in the pantry is always handy. Also very inexpensive. I like to cook my own dried beans from scratch. And so, a bag of beans costs maybe $1 or $2. And you can cook them and then freeze them and have them on hand, just as handy as having the canned beans. So the onions and the garlic, we're going to pretend like they've been cooking here for about 3 minutes. They're getting close. When you make this soup, we're going to divide our bean servings in half. So we're going to put half of them in and let them cook for a little while and mash them, and then add the rest of the beans. But before I get to the beans, I'm going to add the seasoning. And the only seasoning in this soup, I'm making a very simple version of it, just these 5 ingredients, but I'm putting in 2 teaspoons of cumin. Now, I am a cumin lover, so the minute that cumin hits the pan and starts combining with the onion and the garlic, my kitchen's smelling really good. And I'm adding the spices at this point, along with the vegetables, because it gives them the opportunity to kind of bloom. So that just means that the flavor opens up, rather than if you added them at the end, and you probably wouldn't taste them quite as much. So we're going to add them right on top of the garlic and the onion there, and give it a minute or so, and you will start to smell that cumin along with the delicious garlic and onion flavors. Okay, so after you've added the cumin, your onions and your garlic are soft, and that onion starts to get a little bit transparent. At this point, you're going to add in the rest of your vegetable broth. So I have 2 cups of a low sodium vegetable broth. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the pan. And then I have about 3 cups of cooked black beans. Now I buy a low sodium canned bean if I'm going to use canned beans. This is the one I purchase. And if you drain them and rinse them, you end up with about 1.5 cups of black beans. So here are my black beans, about 3 cups worth, and I'm only going to put half of them into the soup at this point, and I'm going to reserve the other half for later. And so the black beans, the broth, the garlic, the onions, and that cumin are in the pan. And I'm going to turn it up to high and bring the whole thing to a simmer. And it's going to take maybe 8 or 10 minutes for that to happen. And so I will let that work, and I will be back with you in just a moment. Okay, so my beans have been simmering away in that broth for about 10 minutes. And I came back and stirred them a couple of times just to make sure that the beans didn't stick to the bottom. Right now, I'm going to take it off of the heat, and I'm going to use my potato masher. Now you could use, if you had an immersion blender, you could use that to blend some of this together, or you could transfer this to a blender, which is always really dangerous. I try not to do that, but I thought I'd get a little extra workout today. I'm just going to use my potato masher, and the beans are really tender now, and I'm just going to mash them until I get that nice creamy consistency. So you know, if you've ever eaten things like refried beans, that when beans get mashed or blended, they become really, really creamy. So I love that texture and the consistency, but I still wanted to have some whole beans in there to provide some additional texture and chunkiness. So it takes just a couple of minutes to get all of the beans mashed. And I can already see that starchy creaminess happening there. And I think I'm done with what I want to accomplish. And I'm going to go ahead and add the remaining beans. And stir them in there. And at this point, I'll return the pot to the heat, and I'm going to let it come back up to a simmer and simmer away until everything is completely heated, the beans that I added and everything like that. And when everything is done, you end up with this beautiful, thick, black bean soup. Now, I made a very simple version of this. If you wanted to add additional things, you could throw in some corn, you could throw in a can of the Rotel tomatoes, or just some diced tomatoes. Even if you have an extra zucchini on hand, chop that up and throw it in there, and let it cook for that 10 minutes or so while the beans are heating. And if you wanted to top this soup, I've got some great ideas for topping it. So some avocado with the cumin in the soup. It has a nice Mexican or Southwestern kind of vibe going on. Maybe some chopped tomato. A little bit of lime. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of lime on my soup. That goes great with all of those flavors. And if you're not a cilantro hater, maybe a little bit of cilantro. Okay. Doesn't that look delicious? Let's give it a try. That is really good. So quick, easy, things you probably have in the pantry already. So I hope you give my soup a try and let me know what you think about it. You can find this recipe and all of our recipes on my blog, and that is what'scookingcgh.com. Or you can find the videos and recipes at the CGH website on the Health Foundation page. See you again next time.